Milky Way Part 1. Scorpio in June, a cosmic reawakening. This month, Scorpio, the universe doesn't whisper. It roars. And only those attuned to the silence beneath the sound will truly hear the call. In the cosmic theater of June 2025, Scorpio is not merely an actor. You are the shadowed protagonist rising into the spotlight. This is not just another monthly horoscope. This is a shift, a metamorphosis, a sacred cracking open of old shells to reveal the golden truth within. And it begins with a rare alignment, the kind that happens once in over a decade. Jupiter, the planet of growth, luck, and expansive faith, is leaving behind the chaotic mental energy of Gemini and entering Cancer, a water sign like you. This is not a subtle shift. It's a divine invitation. And for Scorpio, it means a trine, one of the most harmonious and supportive angles in astrology. When Jupiter trines your sun, moon, or rising, it's like having the universe say, "Go ahead, we've got your back." But before we jump into what's coming, let's pause. Let's breathe. Because before any spiritual awakening comes a reckoning. You've spent the past year with Jupiter activating your 8th house, your sacred terrain. The house of death, rebirth, money, power, control, sexuality, and karma. For many Scorpios, this wasn't just a year of growth. It was a year of initiation. Some lost jobs, lovers, homes. Others confronted ancestral trauma or financial upheaval. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. Now, June arrives like the gentle hush after a storm. The skies are finally clear. No retrogrades, except Pluto, but let's be honest, Pluto is always retrograde, like your shadow is always present. No eclipses, no cosmic confusion, just clarity. So here's what I want you to ask yourself right now. What have I been surviving? What am I ready to become? And am I courageous enough to receive what I once prayed for? Scorpio's internal landscape, always awake. Unlike Gemini's outward busyness, Scorpio operates beneath the surface. People often underestimate how internally active you are. You might seem calm on the outside, but your mind is a maze of spiritual alchemy, constant questioning, energetic scanning, and deep intuitive processing. You don't just feel emotions, you become them, embody them, and transmute them into something meaningful. So when the external world, driven by Gemini, starts speeding up, emails, errands, conversations, travel, it clashes with your natural rhythm. But what if this clash isn't meant to overwhelm you, but to challenge you, to pull you out of the depths and into a space where you can bring your wisdom forward into the world? This June is your initiation into integration. You're being asked to bring your inner knowledge out into form, to teach, to lead, to write, to share. Fire true story. The phoenix doesn't rise by accident. Let me tell you a story. In 2013, during the last Jupiter in Cancer cycle, I knew a Scorpio woman named Elise. She was a single mom, heartbroken from betrayal, living in a small one-bedroom apartment with her son. She didn't know astrology. She didn't believe in the stars. But something told her that year to return to her childhood passion, cooking. She started sharing recipes online, not glamorous, not professional, just raw and real. Fast forward 1 year, a publisher found her blog and offered her a book deal. Today, she owns a healing cafe that employs single mothers and donates meals weekly to families in crisis. Why do I tell you this? Because Scorpio's power is never in pretending. It's in embracing the dark, walking through it, and coming back with the light for others. This month, you might feel like nothing has changed, but the energy around you has changed entirely. And if you align with it, you will begin to see new doors opening that were once invisible. Like Elise, your next chapter could begin not with a plan, but with an inner nudge, a whisper that says, "Start now." Person in lotus position. Buddhist wisdom, the lotus and the mud. In Zen teachings, there's a saying, "No mud, no lotus." The lotus flower, pure, serene, radiant, can only grow from thick, dark mud. This is the Scorpio path. And June is when the mud begins to crack, when light seeps through, when your soul, tired from the battles of transformation, finally sees the horizon. So ask yourself, what is the lotus in your life right now? What is trying to bloom, even if you're still covered in mud? Compass key takeaways for June preview. Jupiter enters Cancer on June 9th, a beautiful trine to Scorpio, activating expansion in travel, wisdom, and emotional grounding. Mercury, Sun, Venus all favor clarity, perfect time to make decisions, launch projects, and step into public expression. Your past traumas may no longer define you, but are instead the raw material from which you'll craft your next masterpiece. In the next part, we'll explore the influence of Gemini, why this air sign's energy might feel overwhelming to Scorpio, and how to navigate it with calm clarity rather than stress and burnout. But for now, remember this. You are not who you were. You are who you were meant to become. Backhand index pointing right, ready for part 2. Gemini overload versus Scorpio's depth. Tornado part 2. Gemini overload versus Scorpio's depth. Scorpio feels everything. Gemini talks about everything. But when the two collide, the soul must learn to dance between silence and sound. June 2025 doesn't begin in stillness. It begins in motion, a flurry of messages, meetings, decisions, distractions. The world is buzzing, and Gemini is the reason why. With Mercury, the Sun, and other cosmic bodies crowding this curious sign, the air is thick with mental stimulation. For Scorpio, this can feel like static, not because you're incapable of keeping up, but because your strength lies in stillness, not speed. While Gemini skips across the surface of things, gathering facts, exploring ideas, bouncing from one topic to another, Scorpio sinks deep into the undercurrents, into meaning. So what happens when a month begins with the sky dominated by the energy that's almost your complete opposite? You adapt, but only with intention. Brain Gemini energy, the mind in overdrive. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the messenger of the gods. Its nature is fast, flexible, and wildly curious. In June, with this sign hosting multiple planets, life takes on a breathless pace. Everyone is emailing, texting, talking. Plans change. Conversations multiply. Schedules are chaotic. For air signs like Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, this feels like a carnival. But for Scorpio, it's like walking into a crowded room after meditating in solitude for months. It's not inherently bad, but it's overwhelming, especially when your 8th house is being activated. This is the domain of deep intimacy, financial entanglements, power struggles, sexuality, shared resources, psychological transformation. None of these topics thrive on haste. And yet, the Gemini energy wants movement. It wants decisions. So how can Scorpio thrive in this noise? Man in Lotus position's spiritual strategy, the art of selective engagement. This month, Scorpio must not try to absorb it all. Instead, filter. Ask, is this conversation meaningful or just mental clutter? Am I responding or just reacting to energy that isn't mine? Is this decision driven by intuition or by pressure to keep up? One Scorpio client I mentored, let's call him Daniel, recently faced this very clash. A flood of business opportunities hit his inbox, speaking invitations, collaboration requests, investment offers. He was flattered, excited, overstimulated. He began saying yes to everything, until his health crashed. Anxiety, insomnia, physical burnout. What saved him was a return to his Scorpio nature, silence, ritual, space. He began setting 2-hour, deep focus, windows with no phone, no email, just still work on his core project. He said no to anything that didn't align with his long-term emotional and spiritual purpose. Within weeks, his energy returned. One of the collaborations he did say yes to turned into a transformative partnership. That is the lesson of June. Don't drown in options. Choose the few that feel fated. Locked with key the 8th house activation. A gateway, not a crisis. Let's talk more deeply about what's being lit up for you. The 8th house. This is your home turf, Scorpio. The territory of death and rebirth, transformation, intimacy, and other people's resources. When Gemini floods this house, expect contracts, financial negotiations, and soul-deep conversations to show up. But be careful. Gemini likes to skim, and the 8th house demands depth. You must slow others down if necessary. Don't sign unless it feels intuitively aligned. Don't merge finances or secrets with people whose energy feels scattered. And most importantly, protect your energy body. When you're exposed to too many voices, too many demands, you become porous. This month, more than ever, you need energetic boundaries. Meditation, salt baths, sound therapy, journaling. A morning walk without your phone. These aren't luxuries. They're survival tools. Crystal ball astrology meets psychology. Inner noise versus outer pressure. The paradox of this month is this. You're being pulled outward, Gemini. But your power is always inward, Scorpio. And yet, maybe, just maybe, this tension is a gift. Because the world needs your voice, Scorpio, but not a reactive voice. A refined, soulful, emotionally intelligent voice. Gemini is giving you a platform. But your message must come from the soul, not the ego. So if you're a coach, a healer, a leader, an artist, this is your time to publish, to teach, to speak. But only after you've listened within. Person in lotus position, Buddhist reflection, the middle way. The Buddha taught us to avoid extremes, neither indulgence nor asceticism. This applies to thought, too. Too much thinking, Gemini's shadow, creates anxiety. Too much withdrawal, Scorpio's shadow, creates stagnation. This month is about balance. Create a rhythm, outer engagement, inner retreat. Speak, then meditate. Act, then reflect. Reach out, then return. Let your life in June be like the tide, flowing in and out, rather than crashing in chaos. Compass key takeaways for part 2. Don't rush important decisions, especially financial or intimate. Protect your energy from mental clutter and outer noise. Use Gemini's gift of communication to share your truth, but only after tuning in to your soul. Balance is sacred. Be still enough to listen. Be brave enough to speak. In part 3, we will enter the realm of the 8th house secrets, a deep dive into money, power, and spiritual merging. You'll learn how to transform contracts, conversations, and karmic ties into opportunities for soul evolution. In a world addicted to noise, Scorpio's silence becomes power. Receipt Part 3, the 8th house secrets, money, power, and intimacy. The 8th house is not about possession, it's about merging. Not about what you own, but about what you're willing to surrender and transform. If June 2025 had a secret chamber for Scorpio, a dark room behind the stage, it would be the 8th house. And right now, that room is wide open. The lights are on. The actors are taking their places. But you, Scorpio, are not merely the observer. You are the one holding the script. The cosmic intensity in Gemini, Mercury, Sun, and more, is activating this sacred house. This is no ordinary influence. Because the 8th house is where Scorpio comes alive. And not just in the literal sense, but in the spiritual, financial, psychological, and deeply karmic sense. This is the house of merged finances, shared assets, loans, inheritances, taxes, soul-level intimacy and trust, psychological breakthroughs and breakdowns, power and the fear of losing it, sexual energy, not just as pleasure, but as transformation, death and rebirth, literal, metaphorical, emotional. In short, the 8th house is not for the faint of heart. But you, Scorpio, are not faint-hearted. You were born to walk through the shadows and return with treasure. Money with wings, money as a mirror. Let's begin with something practical, finances. With Gemini lighting up your 8th house, discussions around shared resources will intensify. Maybe you're negotiating a joint loan. Maybe you're settling a family inheritance. Maybe you're finally confronting debt, or deciding to invest in something that scares and excites you at the same time. But this house asks a deeper question. Where is your money energy tied to your fear of control or lack of control? Take this real-life story. I once worked with a Scorpio named Rachel. Her husband wanted to invest their savings into a business venture with a friend. On paper, the numbers looked good, but Rachel hesitated. Not because she didn't trust her partner, but because the money represented safety. She'd grown up poor, and savings meant control. Investing felt like surrendering the wheel. So she meditated on it. She journaled. And eventually, she realized her resistance wasn't about logic. It was about trauma. The money wasn't the issue. Her fear of powerlessness was. They ended up investing, and today, the business is thriving. But more importantly, so is their relationship, because she faced her shadow and shared it. This month may present you with similar forks in the road. Don't make financial decisions based on fear. Let your intuition guide you. Let past patterns inform you. Let trust, not trauma, speak. Revolving heart's intimacy isn't just physical. The 8th house governs true intimacy. Not just sex, not just partnership, but the kind of vulnerability that makes your voice shake. This month, you may feel compelled to open up, or someone may open up to you. Old lovers may return. Current ones may reach new emotional depths, or cracks may appear where there was once silence. The question is not, is this relationship working? The question is, am I showing up in my truth or hiding behind emotional armor? A Buddhist perspective reminds us that attachment is often confused with love. In reality, many relationships are just contracts of unspoken need. You'll complete me, and I'll complete you. But the 8th house asks for more. Transformation, not transaction. If you're in a relationship now, ask, are we growing or just surviving? What is unspoken between us? Are we willing to confront the hard truths with softness? And if you're single, this is the month where an intense karmic connection could appear. But be cautious. Karmic doesn't mean forever. It means important. You'll recognize it by the way it shakes you awake. Snake the power dilemma. Power is seductive, but also terrifying. Many Scorpios, whether they admit it or not, are constantly dancing between the desire to control and the fear of being controlled. And this month brings up exactly that dynamic. You may be placed in situations where your authority is tested in family dynamics, in career, even in your spiritual practice. You might feel tempted to manipulate outcomes, protect yourself by staying quiet, or retreat entirely. But here's the truth. Real power is not control. It's presence. It's the ability to be fully in the moment without trying to twist it in your favor. One Scorpio client, a therapist, told me recently, I used to think I needed to fix my clients, but I realized they didn't need fixing. They needed someone to sit with their truth without running away. That is 8th house mastery, and you are being asked to embody it now. Person in lotus position, Buddhist lens, the death before rebirth. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of anatta, no self, is central. We cling to our identity, our stories, our wounds. But the path to awakening requires us to let them go. To die before we die. That is exactly what the 8th house teaches Scorpio. To let an old version of yourself dissolve. The one who needed to control, to hide, to survive. And in its place, allow a wiser, softer, older version of you to rise. Key takeaways for part 3. Expect financial conversations, loans, taxes, inheritances, joint ventures to intensify. Deep intimacy and trust will be tested. Don't run. Lean in. Power struggles may arise. Choose presence over control. This is a month for transformational healing, not just surface change. Remember, every death in the 8th house births a new you. Hourglass Not Done Part 4. The final weeks of Gemini, before the shift. The end of a cycle is not a closing, it's a threshold. And when Gemini prepares to hand the baton to Cancer, Scorpio must choose what to take forward and what to leave behind. We're standing at a cosmic crossroads. Jupiter, the great magnifier and teacher, has spent the past 12 months in Gemini, lighting up conversations, thoughts, contracts, and your deep 8th house terrain. But now, the curtain is falling on that chapter. And as we approach June 9th, when Jupiter shifts into Cancer, we are offered a moment of rare clarity. This isn't a time to rush forward. It's a time to reflect, refine, and release. Gemini is about ideas. Cancer is about emotions. Gemini explores the mind. Cancer protects the soul. And this brief, transitional window, these final days of Gemini's reign, are like the space between breaths. A pause, a choice, a sacred silence before the next movement begins. Scroll lessons from Jupiter in Gemini, 2024 to 2025. Let's look back. What did the past year teach you? Did you have deep conversations that changed your relationships forever? Were there sudden business contracts, legal matters, or money shifts that tested your values? Did you find yourself questioning who you can trust or what intimacy truly means? Jupiter doesn't just bring blessings. It brings exposure. It shines a light on hidden truths, forcing us to confront the parts of life we've been avoiding. And for Scorpio, that light was pointed squarely at your 8th house. You've had to face power dynamics, shared money issues, intimacy fears, and emotional entanglements. But now, with the Gemini energy thinning, it's time to integrate. Ask yourself, what truths did I uncover? What am I still carrying that no longer serves me? What wisdom am I ready to take into the next cycle? Brain information overload, the final test. One last burst of Gemini activity might tempt you to say yes to everything. Don't. These final weeks are not about collecting more information. They are about filtering, discerning what aligns with your soul's path. You don't need another meeting, another podcast, another opinion. You need inner stillness to hear your own voice again. I once worked with a Scorpio writer who had so many ideas from this Gemini cycle that she was paralyzed. "I don't know where to begin," she told me. So we sat in silence for 5 minutes. Then she whispered, "I think I need to write about grief." Not the book she wanted to write, but the one her soul had been waiting to tell. That's the final lesson of Jupiter in Gemini. The mind is loud, but the truth is quiet. Person in lotus position, closing ritual, letting the mind bow to the heart. Here's a ritual you can try before June 9th. Light a candle, symbolizing illumination of the mind. Write down 3 lessons from the past year that came through conflict, conversation, or confusion. Burn the paper safely, thanking those lessons, but releasing the noise. Place your hand on your heart and ask, what do I want to carry into this new cycle, and what must I leave behind? This symbolic act helps transition from Gemini's mental maze into Cancer's emotional ocean, preparing you for the flood of grace that's coming. House with Garden, the gateway to Cancer, a taste of what's to come. Jupiter in Cancer is not just about emotion. It's about home, safety, roots, and nourishment. It's the spiritual opposite of Gemini's scattered movement. Where Gemini says, explore everything, Cancer says, come home to yourself. You'll soon feel that gravitational pull toward family, toward memory, toward healing the inner child. But you must cross the bridge consciously, not by accident, not by distraction, not by default. Cross with intention. Person in lotus position, Zen reflection, the bamboo lesson. In Japanese Zen gardens, bamboo is used as a symbol of strength through flexibility. When storms come, the bamboo bends. It doesn't snap. Gemini energy has tested your flexibility. Now, Cancer energy will ask, what did you anchor to? True strength lies in being moved without being lost. Compass key takeaways for Part 4. Jupiter is completing its transit in Gemini by June 9th. A final call to reflect on contracts, conversations, and soul shifts. Avoid overwhelm in these final days. Choose depth over quantity. Let your mind bow to your heart. Cancer season is not mental, it's emotional. Perform a transition ritual to symbolically release the Gemini clutter and prepare for a more grounded, heart-based cycle. In Part 5, we begin a new chapter. Jupiter in Cancer, bloom where you're planted. You'll discover how this rare and emotionally rich transit will open Scorpio's deepest longings for home, family, and spiritual security. Let the chatter fade. Let the stories settle. The truth is waiting in stillness. Seedling Part 5. Jupiter in Cancer, bloom where you're planted. The soul doesn't always need to go far to grow. Sometimes, the greatest expansion happens in the quiet of home, in the healing of memory, in the roots we never stopped watering. On June 9th, 2025, a monumental cosmic shift takes place. Jupiter, the planet of growth, opportunity, and spiritual vision, moves from airy, restless Gemini into nurturing, emotion-rich Cancer. For most signs, this shift feels like moving from a fast-paced train into a quiet, sacred garden. But for Scorpio, it's more than just a change. It's an awakening. Why? Because Cancer is a fellow water sign. It understands you. It speaks the same language, not of words, but of feelings, of intuition, of family, of ancient memory. And when Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system, enters this realm, it sends waves of possibility through everything Cancer represents: home, ancestry, healing, family, security, and the inner sanctuary. House with Garden, home means more than walls. We often think of home as a place, a house, a city, an address. But spiritually, home is a state of being. It's where we feel safe enough to exhale. It's the space where our nervous system stops bracing for danger. It's where the inner child inside us knows it's finally okay to rest. With Jupiter in Cancer, Scorpio is being invited to redefine home. 2. Heal family wounds. Reconnect with ancestry or roots. Renovate or relocate. Create space that supports emotional well-being. Build relationships that feel like home, not cages. One Scorpio woman I worked with shared how, during the last Jupiter in Cancer cycle in 2013, she left a toxic marriage and moved into a small studio apartment with her daughter. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't perfect. But for the first time in years, she felt free. She told me, "That little apartment was my temple. I rebuilt my soul there." That is the magic of Jupiter in Cancer, the expansion of sacred space. Not outside you, within you. Water wave water meets water, the power of the trine. When Jupiter enters Cancer, it forms a trine, the most harmonious angle in astrology, to your Scorpio placements. This is like soft rain falling on fertile ground. It doesn't crash or shake. It nourishes. It restores. It whispers, "You are safe now. You can grow now. You can belong now." And with this transit lasting until June 2026, you have a full year to explore this new terrain. But here's the paradox. Sometimes, staying still is the hardest journey, especially for Scorpio, always transforming, always moving forward, always seeking the next layer of truth. But this is a different kind of expansion. This is about being, not doing. Receiving, not striving. Remembering, not chasing. Baby inner child healing and family karma. Cancer also rules childhood, parenting, and generational patterns. With Jupiter here, you may be called to forgive a parent, speak truth in family circles, break cycles of trauma, heal your own parenting patterns, reconnect with your inner child. And this isn't always gentle work. You might cry more, dream more, feel memories surface that you thought were long buried. But that's Jupiter's gift, not just to expand your joy, but to help you feel safe enough to release your pain. In Buddhist psychology, we speak of interbeing, the idea that you are not just you, but a continuation of your ancestors. Healing yourself is healing them, and healing them is healing the future. This year, Scorpio, you are the healer of your lineage. Bloom where you're planted. There's a saying, the grass is greener where you water it. Jupiter in Cancer will tempt you to settle down, to commit, to build roots, whether that's through home ownership, emotional loyalty, or inner stillness. But many Scorpios resist this, believing growth only comes through leaving, changing, fighting. But maybe it's time to ask, what if I don't need to escape? What if what I'm looking for is already here? Person in lotus position, Buddhist reflection, the house of emptiness. In Zen, there is a concept of the empty house, a space that is full because it is open, silent, and clear. The house does not cling to its furniture or its memories. It breathes. It welcomes. It allows space for the soul. You, Scorpio, are being asked to become that house. Let go of the clutter, mental, emotional, physical. Let go of stories that no longer serve. Make room for the divine to live in you. And in that space, let your roots grow. Compass key takeaways for part 5. Jupiter enters Cancer June 9th, beginning a year of emotional and spiritual nourishment. You're being called to heal your concept of home, family, and inner safety. Emotional depth and intuition are now superpowers. Use them to build a life that soothes your soul. It's time to stop running. You're already where the miracle begins. In part 6, we'll explore how Jupiter not only activates your emotional core, but also your 9th house of expansion, wisdom, travel, and destiny. Yes, home is calling, but so is the world. Scorpio, you do not bloom by force. You bloom by remembering you are rooted in something eternal. Globe showing Europe Africa Part 6. Jupiter awakens the 9th house. Travel, faith, destiny. There comes a moment in every seeker's life when staying still no longer feels like peace. It feels like limitation. And in that moment, the soul must rise and walk toward the horizon. As Jupiter settles into Cancer, its warm emotional current begins to do something extraordinary. It activates Scorpio's 9th house, the realm of the great journey. This is where the cosmos stops whispering about safety and begins to shout about destiny. The 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius, the philosopher, the explorer, the truth seeker. And for you, Scorpio, this is where emotional expansion becomes spiritual mission. The roots you planted in Cancer, they now begin to support your wings. Airplane the call to go far, literally and spiritually. Let's be clear, this transit isn't just about vacations. It's about expansion in every sense. Geographically, long-distance travel, immigration, moving abroad. Intellectually, higher education, certifications, publishing, philosophy. Spiritually, redefining your beliefs, discovering new systems, exploring ancient truths. Vocationally, stepping into your purpose, sharing your message with the world. One Scorpio man I knew during the last Jupiter in Cancer cycle in 2013 was a quiet accountant in a mid-sized city. He'd always dreamed of teaching abroad, but never dared. One day, out of nowhere, a friend sent him an opening at a university in Bali. He applied half-heartedly, got the job, sold everything, and moved. Today, he's not only teaching, he runs spiritual retreats on weekends and just published a memoir. When Jupiter touches your ninth house, dreams grow legs. The impossible becomes probable, and the universe starts giving you signs so clear, you can't pretend you didn't see them. Books learning that transforms. The ninth house isn't about memorization. It's about wisdom. You may feel pulled to go back to school, study a new spiritual path, learn a language, mentor or be mentored. Take courses that feel strangely familiar, as if your soul already knows the material. Scorpio, you're a deep learner by nature, but this transit takes you from private investigation to public integration. What you've kept hidden in journals may now become blogs, podcasts, or books. The lessons you've whispered to yourself may now need to be shared with the world. And yes, you'll doubt yourself. You'll ask, who am I to teach? But the better question is, who are you not to share what nearly broke you, but didn't? Milky Way, faith over fear. This house also governs faith, not blind belief, but earned trust in something greater. Under Jupiter's influence here, you may return to a spiritual practice, challenge your religious upbringing, experience mystical moments, see synchronicities intensify, begin to feel connected to a bigger plan rather than just hope for one. Buddhist teachings describe this as trusting the river, releasing the need to control the current, and instead allowing life to carry you where your soul is meant to go. This is terrifying for Scorpio, who often thrives in the driver's seat. But faith asks you to surrender the map and walk by intuition instead. Fire Scorpio shadow, from doubt to devotion. Every gift Jupiter offers comes with a challenge. With the ninth house, the shadow is cynicism. Scorpio can sometimes become jaded, suspicious of teachers, institutions, spiritual dogma. And sometimes, that skepticism is necessary. It's what makes your insights so sharp. But now, the invitation is not to blindly trust, it's to open again. Open to being surprised, to being humbled, to being guided. Your heart may soften toward beliefs you once mocked. Your mind may stretch around truths you once dismissed. This is not weakness, it's evolution. Person in lotus position, Buddhist reflection, beginner's mind. Zen master Shunryu Suzuki said, "In the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind there are few." Jupiter in your ninth house is a call to reclaim the beginner's mind, to unlearn what no longer serves, to travel, not to escape, but to expand, to question, not to rebel, but to understand, to seek, not out of fear, but out of devotion to the truth. Compass key takeaways for part 6. Jupiter's trine to your Scorpio placements will activate the ninth house. Expect travel, learning, publishing, and spiritual breakthroughs. You may feel called to teach, move, share, or explore like never before. This is the year to find your voice, expand your faith, and step into your dharma. Don't underestimate the small whispers. They may be the call of destiny. In part 7, we'll descend back into the realm of relationships as Venus moves into Taurus and activates your 7th house, revealing truths about love, collaboration, and karmic bonds. Scorpio, your path is not only deep, it's vast. Trust where it leads. You are not lost. You are becoming. Revolving Hearts, Part 7. Venus and the Art of Scorpio Partnerships. Some people come into your life to break you. Others come to reflect you. But a rare few arrive to help you remember who you were before the world told you to forget. When Venus enters Taurus, it lights up your 7th house, Scorpio, the celestial domain of relationships, soul contracts, commitments, and karmic mirrors. For most people, this transit might feel like a sweet breeze through their love life. But for Scorpio, it's a storm disguised as a love song. Because for you, intimacy is never casual. You don't flirt for fun. You merge. You transform. You become the other. And in doing so, you risk losing parts of yourself. This is why Scorpio often fears love as much as they crave it. And yet, Venus in Taurus, a sign ruled by sensuality, pleasure, and grounding, comes with a gift, the reminder that love doesn't have to be chaos. It can also be calm. It can be rooted. It can be safe. Ring the seventh house, a mirror, not a fantasy. This house is not just about romance. It's about mirroring who you attract, why you attract them, and what your relationships reflect back to you about yourself. In this Venus transit, expect renewed focus on your current partnerships, romantic, business, even legal. Old lovers or karmic connections resurfacing for closure or rekindling. Opportunities for new relationships grounded in trust rather than trauma. Financial or artistic collaborations with soul-aligned partners. But here's the test. Can you open your heart without losing your center? One Scorpio woman I knew fell head over heels during the last Venus in Taurus cycle. The connection was magnetic, electric, fated. Within weeks, she was planning a move. But slowly, she stopped painting, stopped meditating, stopped calling her friends. She mistook merging for devotion. Eventually, the relationship collapsed. And in the wreckage, she had to rebuild the self she abandoned. Her story isn't a warning. It's a mirror. Venus brings beauty, yes. But beauty without boundaries becomes a trap. Handshake love and karma. Who are you really committing to? In astrology, Venus doesn't just rule pleasure, it rules value. So when she enters your house of partnerships, the question becomes, what do you value in others? And do your relationships reflect that, or betray it? Scorpio, you've evolved. You've shed skins. You've outgrown people, patterns, and personas. But sometimes, the heart still aches for what's familiar, even when it's harmful. This month may bring a test. A lover returns. A business partner offers something tempting. A friend demands loyalty that costs you your peace. What will you choose? Taurus energy, in its wisdom, teaches us real love is slow, solid, sensual, safe. This isn't about passion that burns fast. It's about commitment that burns steadily. Person in lotus position Buddhist insight. True love is freedom. In Buddhist psychology, true love is defined by 4 elements. Matri, loving-kindness. Karuna, compassion. Mudita, sympathetic joy. Upeksha, equanimity, non-attachment. Venus in Taurus challenges you to ask, is my love kind? Is it compassionate, even in conflict? Do I celebrate my partner's joy as if it were my own? And most importantly, do I love without trying to possess? For Scorpio, whose instinct is often to hold, protect, control, this can be the deepest spiritual practice. Artist palette creative collaborations and the art of building together. Beyond romance, Venus also rules art, beauty, and creation. With her in your 7th house, this is a powerful window for launching a joint project, signing business contracts, especially in creative industries, building a brand, a workshop, or even a shared home, healing financial imbalances in your closest connections. But remember, Taurus moves slow and steady. Don't rush. Let the partnership prove its roots before you plant a forest together. Compass key takeaways for Part 7. Venus in Taurus activates your 7th house of love, contracts, and reflection. You may meet or reconnect with soul-level partners. Choose grounded love over infatuation. Ask if your relationships reflect your current self or an outdated version. Creative and business collaborations can flourish if rooted in mutual respect. Practice Buddhist love. Offer freedom, not fear. Presence, not possession. In Part 8, we follow Mars as it finishes its final push through your 10th house of career, ambition, and public impact, and begins shifting your energy toward community, creativity, and collective healing. Scorpio, real love doesn't swallow you. It sees you. It stays when you stand in your truth, not when you disappear to please. Rocket Part 8. Mars pushes career forward, then looks to the collective. There comes a time when ambition must give way to contribution, when the fire that once drove you inward begins to light the way for others. As June unfolds, Mars, the warrior planet of action, drive, and direction, completes its final steps through Scorpio's 10th house of career, public image, and legacy. This is the last push, the final sprint in a marathon that began months ago when you were asked to claim your space in the world, not just professionally, but spiritually. Because for Scorpio, Work is never just work. It's transformation. It's devotion. It's alchemy in motion. You've been driven, focused, perhaps even obsessed. And now, as Mars begins to shift toward your 11th house, the house of community, causes, and higher collective visions, the question arises. What now? Classical building the final push. What are you building? If you've been working on a major career move, a launch, a promotion, a change in direction, this month brings completion. Expect a decision you've been waiting for, public recognition or critique, a shift in how the world sees you, a realization that what once drove you may no longer fulfill you. Mars in the 10th can feel like standing on a stage, bright lights, big pressure. But now, as the curtain begins to close, it's time to ask, did you perform or did you express? There's a difference. Performance feeds the ego. Expression feeds the soul. Briefcase Scorpio and the myth of power. Let's not forget, Mars is your ancient ruler. You know this planet's fire. You thrive in intensity. But this cycle wasn't just about control or status. It was about clarity. Clarity on what kind of legacy you want to leave. Clarity on the type of impact you want to make. Too many Scorpios fall into the trap of hidden ambition, quietly building empires without asking, why? This month challenges that. Because what comes next isn't about empire. It's about ecosystem. Globe with meridians, the shift begins. Enter the 11th house. As Mars begins moving into your 11th house, your focus shifts outward. This is the domain of friendships and soul tribes, humanitarian causes and activism, collective healing, long-term dreams beyond personal success, digital communities, networks, social impact. It's as if the universe whispers, you've found your power. Now use it, not just for yourself, but for others. This might look like joining or starting a nonprofit or spiritual group, launching an online platform or community space, mentoring younger souls on a similar path, turning your pain into purpose and sharing it. You may find yourself less interested in titles and more drawn to togetherness, less focused on recognition and more focused on contribution. Seedling real story, the purpose after achievement. I once guided a Scorpio man, a successful executive who had just completed a major merger. He had everything, wealth, influence, accolades, but he was restless, empty. Then, Mars shifted to his 11th house. He started volunteering, at first once a month, then every weekend, mentoring teenage boys from broken homes. One day he told me, I spent 20 years building something for myself, but this is what I was actually meant to build. That's the power of this transition, from success to significance. Person in lotus position, Buddhist reflection, the path of right livelihood. In the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha spoke of right livelihood, work that does not cause harm, that uplifts both self and others. Mars in the 10th helps you achieve. Mars in the 11th asks, what will you do with that achievement? This is the time to align your external work with your internal truth, to merge action with compassion, to serve not out of obligation, but out of overflow. Compass key takeaways for Part 8. Mars completes its transit in your 10th house, finalizing projects, career shifts, and public roles. Your energy will move from achievement to alignment as Mars enters the 11th house. This is a time to ask, how can I serve a greater whole? Focus on collective healing, purpose-driven work, and conscious community building. Redefine success, not as status, but as sacred service. In Part 9, we'll dive into the most powerful moment of the month, the rare period of no planetary retrogrades, offering Scorpio unmatched clarity, momentum, and divine green lights. Scorpio, you've risen alone. Now rise with others. This is how true legacy begins, not in your name, but in the lives you've changed. Glowing Star Part 9, Retrograde Free Zone, time to act. The skies have cleared, the tides are turning, and the universe is no longer whispering, Scorpio, it's inviting you to move boldly. Now, astrologers around the world are marking this as one of the most powerful months of 2025, and for good reason. From mid-May through all of June, we are in a rare cosmic window where no major planets are retrograde, no backward energy, no karmic delays, no cosmic foot on the brake pedal. For Scorpio, who has spent months, even years, navigating inner transformation, grief, endings, and emotional rebirth, This is the moment you've been waiting for. The waters are calm, the winds are in your favor, and your boat is ready to launch. Cyclone, what does retrograde free actually mean? Let's pause and decode this. A planet in retrograde appears to move backward from our perspective on Earth. Energetically, it's a time for review, reflection, reevaluation. It's a cosmic pause button. So when no planets are retrograde, and especially when Mercury, Venus, and Mars, the inner planets closest to Earth, are all moving forward, we are given pure, direct momentum. This is when contracts are signed with clarity, projects launch with ease, new relationships begin without karmic baggage, ideas take form quickly, delays vanish, synchronicities multiply. Unlock the door that was closed is now open. Scorpio, think back. What decision have you been postponing? What message have you been afraid to send? What dream have you been holding hostage to fear? This month, the energy says, go. Now, don't look back. A Scorpio woman I mentored had been sitting on a manuscript for 3 years. Every Mercury retrograde, she'd go back, edit, down, delete, and rewrite. But in June, under this sky, she sent it. A publisher responded in 3 days. This is not magic. This is alignment. Hammer build now, refine later. You don't need all the answers. You just need the impulse, the clarity, the yes from your soul. Let go of perfection. Let go of waiting for the right moment. This is the right moment. Mars is pushing your purpose. Jupiter is expanding your faith. Venus is grounding your relationships. And no one, not even the stars, is asking you to stop. Person in lotus position, Buddhist insight, right effort. In the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha teaches right effort, not excessive striving, not lazy retreat, but the balanced, conscious effort aligned with wisdom. This month is the embodiment of right effort. Move forward, but not out of panic. Create, but not for validation. Say yes, but only to what makes your chest feel light, not tight. Don't chase. Align. Key strategic moves for June. Here's where you can focus this golden momentum. Launch projects that have been in development. Pitch ideas, seek funding, submit proposals. Have important conversations, personal or professional. Sign contracts, enter new partnerships. Make bold decisions about location, career, or purpose. Even your daily routine can shift more easily now. Change habits. Create rituals. Build rhythms that reflect your rebirth. Compass key takeaways for Part 9. June is a retrograde-free month. Rare, potent, and deeply supportive for forward motion. If you've been waiting to speak, sign, move, or decide, wait no more. Act with wisdom, not impulse. But don't overthink. Clarity is now a gift. This is one of the most karmically clean windows of 2025. Use it. Remember, this is your moment. Not next month. Not next year. Now, in Part 10, we'll reflect on the emotional aftermath of the recent eclipses and how, with the fog lifting, Scorpio finally begins to integrate those intense shifts into a grounded, sacred new normal. Scorpio, the sky isn't holding you back anymore, so stop holding yourself back. It's time. New Moon Part 10. Eclipses have passed. Time to integrate. Not every storm destroys. Some storms reveal. And once the dust settles, the real transformation begins, not in chaos, but in integration. The eclipses have passed. March, April, and early May brought seismic emotional shifts to many signs, but especially for Scorpio. Because when the eclipse axis touches your karmic houses, your soul doesn't just experience change, it is rewritten. Some of you lost something you thought you'd always have. Some of you gained something that feels too big to hold. Many of you were cracked wide open by endings, breakthroughs, awakenings, and irreversible truths. But now we're no longer in the storm. We are in the aftermath. And the aftermath is where the real work begins. Waning crescent moon, what the eclipse cycle left behind. Eclipses, particularly those in Aries, Libra, Pisces, and Virgo, have been working on you like a soul surgeon. Quietly, precisely, karmically. They've shifted. The way you relate to your identity, Aries. The way you experience partnerships and karma, Libra. The deep structures of your intuition and spiritual service, Pisces. Your daily habits, health, and mental clarity, Virgo. Even if you didn't notice it right away, you've changed. The way you make decisions has changed. The way you trust people has changed. The way you see your purpose, your gifts, and even your flaws has changed. And now, in June, under calmer skies, the invitation is to integrate. Sunrise over mountains, from reaction to reflection. Scorpio, you are built for intensity. You know how to survive upheaval. But integration is a different kind of strength. It asks you to slow down, sit with what happened, make peace with the new normal, rebuild with patience and intention. This is not a time to rush into something new. It's time to stabilize what has already been revealed. Think of it like an emotional earthquake. The shaking is done, but now you walk through the wreckage, salvaging truth, discarding illusions, anchoring into the new structure of your life. Seedling real story, growth after collapse. A Scorpio friend of mine experienced a painful betrayal during the eclipse season. A business partner she trusted stole a large sum of money and vanished. It was devastating, but it also unearthed something deeper. She had ignored the red flags for years out of fear of being alone. After the eclipse, she didn't jump into legal action or rush to rebuild. She took a silent retreat. She saw a therapist. She began journaling her story. And from that process, she started a small online course on intuition in business. A course now helping hundreds of women avoid what she endured. That's integration. Turning pain into wisdom. Turning endings into offerings. Person in lotus position Buddhist insight. The middle way after the quake. In Buddhist teachings, the path of equanimity is not about avoiding extremes, but finding the center after the extremes have passed. June is the moment when Scorpio is called to walk the middle way. Not denying what's happened, not clinging to the pain, but observing, accepting, and rebuilding with clarity. Ask yourself, what do I know now that I didn't know 3 months ago? How has my inner world shifted? Even if my outer life looks the same, what needs to be anchored before I move forward again? Hammer and wrench integration in action, where to focus. This month, Scorpio should lean into routine building. Create small daily rituals that stabilize your nervous system. Emotional reflection, journal, talk to someone, or meditate on the eclipse lessons. Spiritual anchoring, recommit to a practice, prayer, mindfulness, movement, breath. Redefining boundaries, set clear energetic limits with people who no longer align. Internal celebration, honor how far you've come, even if others don't see it yet. Compass key takeaways for part 10. The intensity of the eclipse cycle is over, but the integration phase is just beginning. Don't rush forward. Reflect, heal, and let clarity settle in your bones. The most profound transformations are not the ones people see, but the ones you feel. Build new structures, slowly and sacredly, from wisdom, not woundedness. In part 11, we'll explore how Jupiter and the Cancerian new moon create the perfect container for home, healing, and emotional anchoring, and how Scorpio can begin creating a life that feels not just powerful, but peaceful. Scorpio, you've survived the eclipse. Now, become the version of you that the storm was shaping all along. House with Garden Part 11, Real Estate, Family, and Inner Sanctuary. Sometimes, the home you've been searching for isn't a place, it's a version of you that finally feels safe to exist. With Jupiter now firmly settled in Cancer, and a new moon approaching in the same sign, Scorpio is entering one of the most emotionally meaningful chapters of 2025. This is not just about where you live. It's about how you live, how you feel in your own body, how safe your nervous system is, how deeply you belong. To others, yes, but most importantly, to yourself. House, physical home. The environment mirrors the soul. Let's begin with the material. This month, you may feel a sudden urge to move homes or relocate entirely. Buy or sell property. Renovate, decorate, or create sacred space. Build something long-lasting. A home, a business, a family. Cleanse or clear physical clutter that holds old energy. For Scorpio, these impulses are rarely just aesthetic. They are energetic rituals. A new wall color isn't just design. It's a shift in vibration. Letting go of a piece of furniture from an ex isn't just decluttering. It's reclaiming sovereignty. This is a perfect time to make changes in your environment that reflect the new version of you that has emerged since the eclipses. Let your space hold the frequency of who you are becoming, not who you used to be. Family ties, repair, redefine, or release. Cancer rules family, ancestry, lineage, motherhood, emotional roots. Jupiter's expansion here can magnify reconnection with estranged family, healing ancestral patterns, conversations that bring clarity or finality, embracing a broader definition of family, soul family, chosen kin, spiritual tribe. Scorpio, you hold immense power to break generational cycles. But sometimes that means releasing guilt, letting go of saving others, and allowing love to take new forms. If you've lost someone, literally or emotionally, this is a time to mourn, honor, and integrate. If you've longed to feel like you belong, this is the season to build that, even if it doesn't look traditional. You do not need to be born into the family that will hold you. You can build it through honesty, empathy, and energetic resonance. Man in lotus position, inner sanctuary, the temple within. While your outer home matters, the deeper invitation of this cycle is the inner home. Is your mind a safe place for your heart? Can your emotions land without judgment? Do you feel rooted in your body, or are you constantly escaping it? In Buddhist psychology, there's a practice called establishing refuge within. It's the art of becoming your own protector, your own nurturer, your own temple. This month, Scorpio is asked to establish morning rituals that anchor the day. Breathe deeply when old wounds resurface. Speak softly to the parts of you still healing. Treat yourself like sacred ground. You've spent so long surviving. This is the time to feel safe in your own skin. Crystal ball real story, building a new kind of home. A Scorpio woman I know, fiercely independent, successful, and emotionally self-sufficient, surprised everyone when she left her penthouse in the city and bought a small house in the countryside. When I asked why, she said, "Because I'm tired of conquering. I want to belong, not to people, but to peace." That house became a sanctuary not just for her, but for others. She now hosts weekend retreats. Women sit in circles, cry, laugh, and heal together, under her roof, in her energy. Scorpio, your soul wants a home, not made of bricks, but of presence, truth, and grounded love. Compass key takeaways for part 11. Real estate decisions, home renovations, or relocation may arise. Trust your emotional instincts. Family healing is possible, but don't force it. Let truth lead, not obligation. You are invited to create emotional safety within your space and yourself. Anchor into ritual, rhythm, and rest. Let your body feel like home again. In part 12, we'll bring the journey to a close with a reflection on what 2025 is truly teaching Scorpio about faith, power, belonging, and rebirth, and how to carry these lessons forward into the next chapter of your destiny. Scorpio, you are not just rebuilding a house. You are returning to the soul space that remembers who you were before the world asked you to forget. Eagle Part 12. What 2025 is teaching Scorpio about faith and power. There comes a time in your evolution when the universe stops testing your strength and starts teaching you how to use it with grace. June 2025 may have felt like a cosmic whirlwind, but it was never meant to confuse you. It was meant to activate you, to awaken something ancient inside you, to remind you, Scorpio, that you are not here to survive anymore. You are here to thrive, with clarity, faith, and quiet power. Let's gather everything you've learned. Repeat button from breakdown to breakthrough. You began this journey still echoing with eclipse energy, carrying the emotional weight of transformation, loss, and redefinition. But as the retrogrades lifted and the stars aligned, you moved from chaos into clarity, from emotional survival into spiritual embodiment, from old stories of betrayal into new structures of truth. This wasn't just astrology. This was alchemy. You didn't just pass through June. You were reforged by it. Waterwave Jupiter's message. Faith is a muscle. Jupiter's movement into Cancer didn't just open the emotional floodgates. It called you home. To your ancestry, to your intuition, to your belief in something higher, and perhaps most importantly, to your belief in yourself. Faith, for Scorpio, has always been hard-won. You've seen too much, felt too deeply, been betrayed by too many promises. But now, you're learning that faith isn't naive. It's courage. It's choosing to trust the process, even when it terrifies you. Fire Mars and Venus, redefining power and love. Mars helped you push through in your career. Venus softened your edges in relationships. Together, they taught you that true power is not domination, it's discernment. That true love is not possession, it's presence. that you can be deeply emotional and divinely strategic. That softness is not weakness, it's the final form of mastery. This month rebalanced your masculine and feminine energies, the doer and the dreamer, the warrior and the healer, into a unified force. Person in lotus position. Final Buddhist reflection, the empty boat. There is an old Zen parable. A man is rowing his boat on a river. Another boat crashes into his. He screams at the other boat in anger until he realizes it's empty. No one was steering it. The lesson? Most pain is impersonal. Most collisions are not meant to destroy us, but to wake us. And when we stop taking everything personally, we begin to sail with peace. Scorpio, this is your time to drop the armor, to stop assuming that every shift, loss, or delay is punishment, and to begin seeing everything, even the pain, as a teacher. Crystal ball, what you carry forward. As you leave June 2025 and step into the rest of the year, you are not the same person who entered. You are softer, but wiser, slower, but more purposeful, quieter, but clearer, less afraid of losing, because you finally understand what's worth keeping. This month taught you that. You don't have to be strong all the time to be powerful. You don't have to know the whole path to take the next step. You don't have to be perfect to be profoundly impactful. And above all, you are no longer building from fear. You are creating from faith. Compass. Final takeaways for Scorpio, June 2025. Faith is your compass, not blind belief, but embodied trust. Power is your posture, not resistance, but grounded presence. Belonging is your birthright, not earned through pain, but remembered through truth. You've entered a new chapter, not a repeat, but a rebirth. Dove. Final words for your audience. To every Scorpio watching this, you are the phoenix. But this time, you're not rising from ashes alone. You're rising with intention, with community, with clarity, with peace. So let this be the month you stop waiting to become, and begin living as the soul you already are. You are not here to burn again. You are here to shine, calmly, steadily, eternally. Directed call to action, spoken from the heart. If this video stirred something in you, if you recognized yourself in these words, or you simply admire the unstoppable force of Scorpio energy, then let's keep going deeper together. Glowing Star, subscribe to this channel, The Path to Buddhist Wisdom, because here, we don't just talk about astrology. We awaken ancient truths. We merge mysticism with mastery, and we honor every soul's path to greatness. Hit that bell, leave a comment, and remember, the most powerful journey is the one within.